Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Ape Cave. So this morning we're going to take a little bit of a different twist, and we're going to be heading down into a mountain instead of up a mountain. Right behind me is the entrance to Ape Cave. This is actually the third largest lava tube in North America. So we actually did the lower part of the cave, which is essentially just a hiking trail in the cave that goes down to the base. Back in March. There was snow all over the place. The road was actually closed about 1.5 miles down, and we had to hike up the trail. Today, it's the end of November, the weekend of Thanksgiving, and there's no snow here. We can see some up on the top of the mountain, but we're able to drive right up to the entrance to the cave. Beautiful day today. It's a little cool. It's going to be nice and chilly and wet down in there, so we've got our extra warm gear. I've got a couple layers on, and we've got our lights. So we have headlamps, extra flashlights, and a few other backup lights just in case. It's also important to have a good pair of gloves, so we've got some nice leather gloves as we're going to be scrambling through some boulders and a few pretty narrow passages as we're going up through the cave. So where we're going to be headed is down into the middle of the cave, and then we're going to be going into the upper part, which actually goes on an incline to an opening at the other end of the cave. It's only about 2 miles, but it takes about 2 hours to do. So we're gonna head down into the cave now. We're gonna start climbing and see what we can see. I'll do my best to take some video once we get inside, but we'll see what we can see with the complete darkness down there. All right, I'll see you on the other side. All right, hey gang, so we are deep down in the cave. Ooh, here I am. We are deep down in the cave, and it is absolutely pitch black. We've done a couple of scrambles already. They're pretty rough rock. So I want to see if you can see it. It's going to be tough because it's so dark that even it's hard for our flashlights to get through. So let me turn this around. See if I can get my headlight up here. No, kind of hard to see. Let's turn this around. Let's see if I can get a shot. Hold on. Alright gang, here we are to another scramble. It's a whole different experience not being able to see in front of you more than about 20 feet. Even with our eyes adjusted and the headlamps and the flashlights, it's chilly down here, and it's a little misty, and as you can hear, lots of water dripping all over the place. So you can't really see too far, and we don't exactly have million candle watt flashlights or floodlights, so we can see plenty for what we're doing, but we can't see down the way. So it's really wild to look and just see darkness in front of you. Wow. You can't see it, but there's just this gigantic opening in the ceiling. Alright, I'm going to climb up these rocks here, and we'll check in again when we get to the first chimney. There's actually an opening about halfway through that lets in light. We can't climb out of it, but it actually is a skylight, not a chimney, a skylight, so you can see out into the world above. So I'm gonna log out for now, and then check back in with you guys when we get there. All right, see you in a bit.
Okay.
You can see formations all over the cave where the lava had flowed at one point, and they just kind of froze in place. I mean, those ripples, those are stone. It looks like mud. It goes all the way down to the ground, but it just kind of cooled in place and solidified. And you can see that all through here. The place almost looks liquid, and everything just kind of froze in place. Some of the rocks are pretty jagged. You can see quite a few down here, and climbing over them. But some of it really just cooled and solidified when it was still free flowing, and it just adds a whole new element to what we're looking at down here. It's also very hard to tell distance, as I've mentioned before. We've been going for a little over an hour, and it's hard to tell how far we've gone. As you walk in some open space for a while and then hit a pile of rocks or a nice tight spot to climb through, which it looks like we're about to hit a pretty tight one up ahead. So okay, so we just come to what's probably the hardest part. This is the actual lava flow they talk about. You have to climb. There's lots of them, obviously, but this is almost like a lava waterfall. It's probably about, I'd say about 10 feet almost. And this is where I'm at foot level. And then you can see there's one foothold, and then you have to climb somehow up that slippery slope up to where Liam is. All right, let's give it a shot. All right, so we've been hiking around, dark, and the headlamps, the flashlights play tricks on you because they reflect off the walls, where the walls are just soaking wet and dripping, and there's a couple of caverns we went in that are almost waterfalls, and so we keep seeing ahead the skylight. We kept thinking it was coming up, and then all of a sudden, there it is. It's It's really neat. The cave walls are just blank with nothing but water and then a little bit of that cave slime. And then you get to this and it's, you can see the logs that have fallen through the hole, but also the moss that's growing on here. Just, wow. That's pretty cool. And the plant's growing just down into the edge where they can get the light. It's also a little more taxing than you expect, climbing over so much rock. All right, this is not the exit. Nope, this is just a marker that we're getting close to the end, because you can see we're pretty close to the surface. That's probably about 25 feet up.
Yeah, 20 to 30 feet.
About 2.5 stories. And then that's where we're headed. Right down that way. All right, down into the darkness. You ready?
I guess.
Let's go. All right, we've been going for almost 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours, and we're up to another skylight. And guess what this is? This is the exit. All right, that looks interesting. We're going to see how we're going to get up that ladder, because I'm going to have to reach out. But there's the skylight, and there's the ladder. Now, the cave does actually go another 100 yards down that way to a dead end. So we'll go check that out. And then, oh, there we go. There's stair steps and the ladder and out. All right, check back in a minute. All right, I'm back at the car. That was an intense experience. It's hard to explain what it's like, because you're in complete darkness for 2 hours. No sound. When we were in there, we saw no other people. We were the only people in the cave, and you're just surrounded by dense rock, and so it's wild to be down there, and you kind of lose a sense of time and sense of distance. So it's not for the faint of heart. A couple of things I would highly recommend if you decide to do the upper cave. The lower cave was a lot easier when we did it back in March. Number one, make sure you have flashlights, headlamp, and a couple of extra flashlights packed with you, because if you lose light down there, you're not going anywhere easily until somebody comes to get you. The other thing is very, very good footwear. We climbed over some pretty heavy-duty rocks and some pretty sharp rocks, and gloves. We had some leather-fronted gloves that made a huge difference. You would tear your hands up in a couple of places, so we had some good gloves. And don't go in there if you have a fear of closed spaces, claustrophobia. It got really narrow in a couple of places where we had to duck down, squeeze through holes. It almost felt like we were someplace we shouldn't be. You know, in a world of handrails and seatbelts, it was cool in the fact that it felt like we were going someplace that was not safeguarded, someplace that was wild. It was just rocks, so it was pretty amazing. Took us a couple hours, like I said. Hike back's about a mile and a third. It wasn't that far back. Beautiful scenery. It's a gorgeous day outside, so it was nice to get a little bit of sunshine. So we're all done. Thanks for coming along with us on the adventure, and we hope to see you on our next hike. Enjoy the adventure.